all social media platforms as well. And our YouTube page is there at Western Spring Television. This program is going on live now, and you can always have a recap of the program whenever you wish. Femi Ujo is my name. I welcome you this morning to another brand new edition of this program where we talk about very important public issues, issues of public importance.
Absolutely.
That's what we look into here, discussing and saying it as it is, as we do here at Western Spring Television. This morning promises to be very exciting and educative as well, especially emphasis on the word educative as it has to do with us, our environment, taking heed, taking warning about what the professionals, the analysts are telling us, the scientists, especially at this very important time of our lives. We have enough on our plate to deal with. So when we get warnings like these from professionals telling us to take care of something, especially our environment, we must just take action.
Absolutely.
And
very
that
key.
is what we are going to talk about this morning, especially our environment here in Osun State and in all the states that you are watching us from. Once again, good morning.
Very shortly, we'll kick things started with the newspaper headlines, stories making the round from the various paid dailies that we have with us today. And just as Femi has stated, he has laid the basis of what we will really delve into, because it is very important for you and I, all of us together as a body, to be very conscious of what it's been said by the experts, and that has to do with regards to flooding. Floods is here. And if you have probably heard that Osun State, most especially...
Flood is not yet here.
Yeah, not yet here.
So that we prevent flooding. Yeah.
Osogbo and Elisha have been touted to be among the states probably prone to flood at this moment. I want to really say a big thank you to Mr. Governor, because when you look at the drainages being constructed, that is what we actually need at this moment. Once there's that channel for water to flow and pass, there is a reduction as to how you have all these waters on our road. So the experts will be here in the course of the program, and we will really analyze things and how you and I should, what we need to do to avert disaster at various points.
What we have in our hands.
Yeah.
The part we have to play.
Absolutely.
The part of the government,
yeah,
the stakeholders, everyone, the people. You know, you talk about drainages being constructed now, but sometimes, sadly, you see the people, you know, having to just empty their trash in these things because they feel the rain is falling. So why not just
wash it away? No, you shouldn't.
So sometimes it doesn't come out that way. But then we have more knowledgeable people to discuss these issues with us today. But first of all, we'll go to the headlines right now to tell you, to bring to you what the papers are saying, the major dailies for today, for you to have a catch-up with these very important and interesting stories from A to Z of our daily lives, both national, subnational, and international as well. We'll do that very shortly, but first of all, we'd like to go on this break. When we come back, we'll look at the papers. Stay with us.
The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history. James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and The People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history.
Yeah, you're welcome back. Now we move straight to the papers. And the first on our plate for this morning is the Punch. The Punch newspaper for today, having these bold headline: federal government arraigns Emefiele allies Thursday on the 6.9 billion procurement fraud. We heard yesterday the charges are being adjusted. 20 new count charge against him now. Of course, he needs all the luck he can get at this time. The federal government arraigns Emefiele and allies on Thursday with riders. CBN procurement director seeks order to testify against ex-Apex Bank governor. Suspended CBN governor allegedly bought 100 vehicles through employees.
My goodness.
Okay, by the way, as bad as it sounds, it's still allegation.
Yeah.
So he will have his day in the court. And one dies, others missing as oil rig collapses in Delta.
Wow.
That's a sad one. You have the picture there, an oil rig collapsing. That's not good at all. You have the boat picture there. And some persons in small boats approaching the rig in the Delta. Right in the bottom strip in blue there, you have Niger ambush. Tinubu mounts soldiers. NAF vows to pound bandits. Please pound them. Don't just vow. Root them out. Root them off our land. Of course. These are criminals.
Absolutely.
These are terrorists. Call them what they are. They make life difficult for the people. They maim. They kidnap, they put people through pains and sorrow.
Absolutely.
And so you can't be doing that. And then the nation, the Nigerian state will be looking at, you should be rooted off. So please go ahead and do the needful within the confines of the law. That's it. Yeah. And people who are not bandits doesn't necessarily have to suffer for this. We've seen instances more than once or twice in which mistakenly, quote unquote mistakenly, the Air Force bombs innocent persons. And nobody really has been called to question. All you hear sometimes is denial, and then after the fact that they are rubbing them in the face, they accept and they apologize. So what happens to people that have died? Do these within the global best practices and the engagement protocol that they need to do. Yeah. An Abia woman arrested for stealing friend's 1-month-old baby. Things are happening. This is bizarre, yeah.
That's
30-year-old.
That's colors.
You can imagine. So if you want the detail, you have to take the Punch today. And next to it, you have Wari Itakwe train derails, NRC suspends operations again. Wow. So that is one too many. Derailing of rains. Wow. I mean, rail lines. It's very sad. But then when you listen to some of them, especially the one we have witnessed before, you get to hear that some terrible Nigerians are involved in this.
Part of the bandits you just made mention
Apart from bandits.
Yeah, because I don't know
those
how...
who just want to make sharp gains. They go to the rail lines,
the trucks,
unscrew the boats, take those irons off the place, and this is part of what is causing this. Although many persons have said, can the NRC go digital so that they get to know when these things are not properly done? Because these are the global best practices. The moment something is wrong with the tracks, there should be an alert somewhere, because that's the way it's done. You can't, you know, carry people's fathers and mothers and children and, you know, family members here, and then go through that route through the rail line, which many persons see as a safer option. Now they get into the middle of the road, they think derails, and who knows where they are, where the same bandit will now get to feast on them. Let's have that. And then if there are people that are doing that to make sharp gains, to just remove the irons and go and sell for one cheap, you know, for cheap, definitely they should be dealt with, whoever that they are. Surveillance should be kept up, really. At the bottom strip there, you have Niger. ECOWAS tightens sanctions and junta demands power supply. Okay, they are making demands now. It's still part of the negotiation. By the way, next to it, you have EFCC goes after dollar speculators. CBN slashes banks' allocations. Okay, and federal government may sell stakes in NNPC and 19 entities. And I think so many things are on the table now, so many options to just get this economy
rolling back to its face.
Wish the president, the team, and all of us the best. That's all there is about the Punch for this morning.
Let me check my set of headlines from Daily Trust newspaper for this morning. Daily Trust newspaper has a big bold caption there. It says, families cry out as food prices hit rooftop. And that's the honest truth. Even for those of us whereby we are here, I had to buy pepper and everything yesterday. 1,000 naira. It was just in a small nylon, and after blending, I had to check again. Is this my? Look, wash your machine.
Your cooking daddy, cooking father.
Well, we just hope things will be done properly. And you have a couple of riders associated to that headline there. It says bags of rice, maize, beans, sugar, gari on weekly increase. That's the honest truth. Inflation eroding capital base. That's credited to traders speaking there. And experts seek suspension of tariffs. Others, okay. Kogi, Lagos, Bayelsa paying more. Inflation hit 24.08%, and that's it on the bottom strip. You can see the picture, the diagram there, as it is stated, what it means. If you're interested, please, you can check full details out to really understand what this means at this point in time. Food prices hit rooftop. Hey, we'll get out of it. The black strip there, just below the picture, the diagram of prices of commodities. There you have that black rider there. It says, President rules out plans to restore petrol subsidy, hike price. President rules out plan to restore petrol subsidy, hike price. Please, we don't want it. Just a few set of people cannot just be enjoying the mammoth wealth Nigerians should be enjoying. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Sometimes you wonder the disconnect in the way the operations of the government are run. Sometimes the NNPC released a statement, made an official statement, and say, due to the obvious, that there might be, you know, price adjustments due to this and that. It was official, you know, definitely. But then I think maybe people reacted, and then the government, maybe some have touted it to be a listening one so far, by the way, or, you know, responded through the special assistant on media and publicity, during Gelali. I think it was yesterday, and through a press conference at the State House, saying the government don't have that plan at the moment. Everybody should please relax. So you wonder, why is NNPC saying that? But then you understand NNPC is not entirely government property again. Anymore. They've really gone public about these things. But then let there be synergy. Definitely Nigeria as a government as a nation, still has some stakes in the NNPC.
Absolutely.
So there should be coordination.
Absolutely.
If mere mentioning that there will be price adjustment, you know how it goes. People start adjusting their stuff. Panic buying happens, and then after a day or two, you come out to say, no, this is no more happening. You have done some damage. And there should be coordination.
There should be.
That's my take on that.
There should be. I agree with you 100%. Moving further, the bottom strip of the same Daily Trust newspaper, MSMEs, BOI partners, Rivers to launch 4 billion naira matching fund. Was that supposed? You want to know more about that? It's there on the page of Daily Trust. Ex-Kaduna commissioners want Tinubu to reconsider El Rufai as minister, and FG files 20 fresh charges against Emefiele, withdraws firearms case. Well, where were they before? If I have to file something concerning, I must have had my evidences, gotten all the facts why I have to sue this person. I hope it's
like
not
someone
a
would say, you're talking about government. They know what to do part-time, you know, and possibly fresh facts might have emerged.
Yeah.
You know, the probe going on in the NNPC as well. There has been some indictment on the man. The good thing is he will have his day in court. Yeah. And so Melot will be the judge of all these things. But then this is not the best of time for Governor Emefiele and some persons, you know, in the NNPC, the CBN as well, that served under him as well. Good luck to them.
We keep our fingers crossed. We'll always bring it to you.
In the middle of this, my own take is always let Nigeria as a state, Nigeria as a nation, and Nigerians be the better for it. Absolutely. No need to take us, go through some avoidable drama if all will not have anything, if it will not have impact on the justice system, the judiciary, the economy. If there have been some persons that have stolen, take them to court and let the court do the needful. Go to jail. Take our commonwealth from them. But if you are not going to do that, please spare us, please.
On the top strip of the same daily, Niger, ECOWAS insists on sanctions as Northern elders demand withdrawal. After Tinubu, CBN governors meeting dollar. After Tinubu, CBN governors meeting dollar crashes to 790 naira at parallel market. Whoa. Okay, coming down gradually. Very soon, probably it will be at the most 100 naira to $1. But we'll just hope it can go back to one-on-one, one-to-one. I remember those days, early 80s, early 1980s. It was oh goodness. But moving further, terrorists claim responsibility for helicopter crash. Nigeria Air Force investigates. Does now investigate. They are so definitely, look at them. That's the annoying thing. They are confident they can say we did this. What's the gain? What have you gained by doing what you've done?
Sadly, they do that to send a message, and whatever their message is, I hope the Nigerian state are ready to respond to them in the language that they understand.
That's something I have realized over the years of being alive, that when our very gallant military, police, security agencies, once they want to do the needful,
they will.
Believe you me, you guys better run out of this country and never come back.
And in this case, they should.
They should really. And do it to the utmost, of course, within the confines of the law. Yeah. Okay, that'll be all from Daily Trust newspaper for this morning.
We'll move to The Guardian for today. And you have right there, boldly written, federal government in deregulation dilemma as 24% inflation worsens poverty. You know, when this information emerged yesterday and we took it, we had it in our news, and then this is the highest it has been in years. And it's a record-breaking thing, but it's not on the good part at all. So something really needs to be done, and that's why it's written this morning that federal government in deregulation dilemma as 24% inflation worsens poverty. And then you have the pictorial representation there, the graph with some increase in January, 24.32%, February, 24.35%, March, 24.45%, April, 24.61%, May, 24.82%, in June, 25.25%, and in July, 26.98%. Wow. Now we're in August. We are waiting to see what will happen. Either there will be a decline, or it will still be the same. But it's good thing to know that the economists, the people that have been appointed, special advisors, various presidential committees are working on this matter. Nigerians want to see results and want their lives better for that. And okay, away from that, we have pedestrians flee as miscreants take over footbridges in Lagos. That's a sad thing. I think Lagos wasn't declared as far as hoodlums are concerned at some point.
But the point is, those guys are in Lagos big time, and they do, even during the day.
Or is it the situation in town that has taken them back to the street now?
Who knows? Who knows? Because I think
as they say,
it's
they are
been a
now
little bit.
the pedestrian bridge. And what are they there for? To extort, to harass.
Wow.
That's what they do.
It's been on the decline over the years.
Yeah.
Over the couple of months.
And it's been reported that they are back, especially on the bridges. Yeah. So you get to see that people don't really feel too safe.
Absolutely.
And please be careful. But then the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and everybody involved, the security architecture in Lagos, the agency should please do the needful so that Nigerians, according to their right, freedom of movement is enshrined in our constitution, even in the UN Charter. So please do the needful. And moving on, fresh concerns over cost, relevance of NYC scheme in lean times. Many persons have opined over the years that, do we still need the NYC? As it outlived its usefulness.
Thank you. That was what I was honestly.
The motive why it was created. As for me, personally, if you ask me, I think I'm still of the opinion that it should
still remain.
But then so many adjustments are to be made. Really, I think it's a good scheme. I had mine in Delta State, by the way.
Oh, really?
And it's an eye-opener. You get to experience the nation beyond what you are used to.
Yeah.
Really, for me, I'm from this part of the country. I schooled in the north, had my youth service in the south. So it was quite almost a balance. And that's one of the reasons, especially for keeping the unity of the nation.
Absolutely.
But so many challenges are involved. I think instead of scrapping it, the whole scheme should be looked into. They are talking about the cost now, the relevance of it, and what it portends. Really, many sad stories from youth corps members in different places that are being posted, and some as well. We have good stories to tell. We've seen people went for NYC and they met the love of their life. They got married. Some got jobs, some got place, but then the sad stories gets to be more than the good news. So let's do the needful. And federal government applies to withdraw firearm charge against Emefiele. We've just said that earlier because I think they have more important things, so to speak, to really charge him with. We are hearing 20 count charge. Wow. Yeah. And on the top stream, we have these in blue. Nigerians may wait longer for Tinubu's cabinet despite hasty screening. Okay. One thing is sure, there should not be any unnecessary wasting of time.
Absolutely.
Our economy cannot afford it. We can't be in an autopilot. The situation, and Tinubu and President Tinubu and his handlers have touted him to be somebody who will hit the popular balance. Hit the ground running. Hit the ground running in the right track, by the way, not just running. And in the blue strip, you have, we will maintain petrol price without subsidy reversal, says Tinubu. We will maintain petrol price without subsidy reversal, says Tinubu. At this point, just like they will say that in our local proverb, if I may translate that literally, that if you pursue a goat in a confined place to some level and it gets to the wall, the goat won't have a choice but to turn against you. And sometimes when that goat do that, it's meant to be an attack, because definitely the goat will be fighting for his life in a kind of way, painting a scenario. I think Nigerians should not be pushed unnecessarily
to the wall.
Yeah.
At this point,
so if you want to do something, please, if you want to say something, whatever they do, actions are inactions have consequences.
Absolutely.
Make sure you think it through before you bring it up, because it has ripple effect.
Absolutely.
You remember, during the May 29th inauguration of President Bola Tinubu, the moment he mentioned that subsidy was gone. Because there was a plan to even stop it ab initio. It's only that the former government didn't do that, former administration rather, didn't do that. The moment he mentioned that, few hours later,
everything changed.
You see price adjustment for filling stations, and people are already working their way around it. Even when that statement is supposed to just be an announcement, because it was something that the subsidy was still taken care of at least a month. After that time, you see the ripple effect. So these are the kind of things government and the handlers must look into. Different agencies, different subsidiaries of the government, make sure you have think these things rather very, very thoroughly. Because before you make this announcement, because it's always have the ripple effect. NNPC come with price adjustment release, and the government are saying, please relax, you don't have that plan. Come on.
We just definitely, just as Femi has rightly stated, that please don't put the cart before the horse. Let there be arrangement, because that is the basis of what Nigerians are looking at. What would we fall back to? Not you, whereby you are any day, anytime you are in your air-conditioned vehicles.
You are taken care of.
Most of us don't have that. So we just hope government will always put the round peg in the round hole before embarking on any of their decision policy makings at this point in time. Please, we admonish
especially
and
pronouncement.
Please,
let them get their
very careful. All right. At this juncture, we told you earlier that we will be looking at something that that ravaged Nigeria last year. For virtually people who moved around Kogi State, Bayelsa, Anambra, you definitely, if you've experienced what flooding actually means, hey, you and I will know that
in some states, in the
southwest,
in your state, you mean a situation of
yes, it's still very fresh.
10 years ago, there was still something related to that. By the way.
But so we need to know as citizens what we need to know as citizens, that look, there's more to it than just going to throw trash inside the the drainages. Please, there's more to it, and we will be enlightened this morning, and that is what we do right here at Western Spring Television. As much as we educate, we inform, we will definitely enlighten us as well on all bases. So stay with us. We'll take a short break. When we return, we will be with our guests who will definitely enlighten us and educate you and I as to how to prevent flood ravaging our farms, our homes, our businesses. Stay with us.
The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history. James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee Diary, Constitution and the People, among 6 other books. Bola Ige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bola Ige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bola Ige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best-known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works, Obakoso, Obawaja, and Moremi, took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Funmilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of two foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history.
Baba, thank you. All right. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for staying tuned to Western Spring Television, channels 190 on the Star Times, and we are on the DTT platform. At this moment in time, we actually made mention of it while we started this program earlier today, that as the meteorological agencies have come up with forecasts concerning flooding in 2023. Hey, it's a little bit scary, but then the needful can be done if we do what is right. And how can we do what is right? It's just an aspect of what we intend doing any moment from now. Let's enlighten us. Let's talk to us. There are procedures where we need to take concerning averting floodings, and most especially, we want to say, government, your responsibilities, please. You've been doing the needful. Let's keep doing it to save properties, lives, farmland, because what happened in our dear nation last year, hey, if you were a part of what happened when it comes to flooding last year in Nigeria, you will know that, and you're still alive at this moment, it calls for Thanksgiving. So rather than having that kind of disastrous thing come up again, let's do the needful. So at this juncture, we have two great gentlemen in the house with us at this moment who would really educate us and enlighten us on how to go about this process. As the Meteorological Agency have said, it will come down again. Osun State has been touted as one of the states amongst many states in Nigeria to witness a little bit of flooding, but we just hope we'll go on our knees and pray at this moment. First of all, to my left-hand side here, I'd like to welcome a former director of Flood Control and Engineering Services, Ministry of Environment, Sanitation and Fiscal Planning, Osun State. It's a pleasure to have Engineer DIPO ALANI in the house. Engineer, thank you for taking time out to be with us.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
And also a dear brother and colleague as well, the team lead for Urban Alert. I'd like to welcome Mr. Tony JUWON. Good morning, Mr. Tony. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Gentlemen, here we are. It's been stated, it's one of those things, there's no way it wouldn't happen. The rains will come. It will definitely come. It has come, and it's here, but it's getting heavier and heavier by the day. We all experienced, we all saw, probably not all of us experienced it, but we saw what happened in Nigeria last year. Taking into cognizance states like Kogi, Bayelsa, Oyo State, Anambra, it was almost a wash away. The rains are coming. The forecasts have stated that it will be much again. From your experiences on this level of averting and preventing, of enlightening the masses, what do we expect this year as stated from the meteorological agencies, and how should we go about to prevent floodings, both from government and us as citizens? Engineer, please help us out.
Thank you very much. I will start with a news that I know that may not be very pleasant. And the news is that where we are now, it can only get worse.
It can only get worse.
That is the truth of the matter.
I hope that's not going to send a signal of...
No. I'm not saying that for to scare anybody.
Oh.
I'm only saying that so that we can be more prepared.
Okay.
We can be at alert.
Okay.
We can do the needful at the appropriate time. So that we don't just wait until things happen before we now take the action. Before react to it. Our actions should be proactive. So, and that is why I think I have come to. If you look at the pattern of rainfall in the past years, we have been wishing flood. We have been wishing it away. But it has just been a mere wishful thinking. We have not got anywhere. It's been consistently consistent. And the people are not properly informed. People are not properly engaged. Okay. And honestly, the government too is not really doing the needful. Okay. And it takes the two to really help themselves. If you ask me, yes, please, in the entire world, I am the most important person to myself.
Absolutely.
To me, my family is very important than any other person.
Absolutely.
So if the government fails to do the needful, if the government does not do the needful, you have the right to protect yourself. So I will start by saying that the people must first of all look at a way of protecting themselves, even if the government is not really forthcoming. Government's intervention will now be an addition. It should be an extra, preventive measure. Now, for instance, when you look at in your village, in your environment, particularly if you are in a flood-prone environment, it is important for you to stay informed, to be at alert. Once it is raining, once the rainy season, sets in, you need to be very careful. You need to watch out. You need to be observant. You understand that you need to stay informed. Listen to radio. Listen to all these predictions and forecasts and all that. And whatever you see there, this should help you to really prepare your mind. I know there was, of course, that Okefia here, several years ago, there were some buildings there that were only occupied during the dry season. Yes. So during the rainy season, you will see all of them move out. I mean, of course, I don't understand that kind of a lifestyle. But they will move out, and then during the dry season, once the rain starts receding, they come back and all that, and you know. So at least they are proactive. You understand? So I think that is very important. Then they should always make an alternative room for emergency. What happens if this happens? In majority of cases, it happens even in the night.
Yeah.
You're talking about the people?
Yes, the people. That's how to first of all, protect themselves. Sometimes, even if the government is the government also wants to help, sometimes it takes a little time, all that time, within that short time, 1 hour, 30 minutes,
a lot
could have happened. So the best thing is to first of all look at yourself and say, let me help myself first. So you create an emergency plan for yourself. Then it's good to have what I would call an emergency kit for yourself, because you know where you are living. No, for instance, people live in Lagos, which is a low-lying environment, low-lying state. You know, you live in Bayelsa, you know areas that are very prone to flood. And those people should know that it's a risk. They are taking a risk. So when flood starts coming, they should not wait until it's like the flood days of the Bible, the deluge in the Bible, where they started, they saw it and no, it can't be, until they were all consumed. So they should look at it, even if once they see that it's approaching, even if it is not going to be as much as they have thought, it's better to first of all have that emergency plan to have to exit. You understand, at least so now many of them they should also have these. They should have a place where they can, an elevated place. For instance, there are some houses, the frontage is lower than the backyard. Okay, make sure that the backyard is easily accessible. Okay, because there are some rooms, and some people will lock the back door. We don't even know where the key is. So when there is a problem, they won't find the key, and there's going to be a serious challenge. Then there are some other. One other thing is that you should look at your the channel near your house. When you are in a flood-prone area, ensure that it is not. Don't say it is those who are the upstream that are dumping refuse there, and of course it's clogging in front of my house. And whatever. I don't know. The government should come and do it. Do it yourself. You are helping yourself. So all this, don't allow dry weather farming to be done around you. Because once dry weather farming is done, it reduces the capacity of the channel. And so when rain comes, it blocks that place up. And the volume that is coming in may not be the volume may not be able to carry the water that is coming in, the flood water that is coming in. So that's as far as the idea is that an individual living in a flood-prone environment should just ensure that he and his family are the first priority. They are the first in his mind, and they should take proactive. All right,
Engineer ALANI, let me stay with you. Very fine analysis, but to me it sounds like enlightening us on escape plans.
Yes,
what to do if actually we are submerged, God forbid bad thing, the way we say. But then, are we that helpless that we must get to that point? Are there not things that we can do that we don't get to the point of having our houses and our communities flooded? Preventive measures.
Yes.
Apart from when we are stuck, you have told us what to do, get to an elevated place, have escape route, exit plans, and the rest of it. Is it a must that we must get to that point?
Well,
are there not things that we can do as a people, as a government, as a community, so that when the rain falls, it doesn't meet us, the flood doesn't meet us in that manner that we are now going to be looking for escape plans, if you understand what I mean.
I certainly do.
But you are sounding like we are helpless. We must just get to that point.
No.
Are we that helpless?
No, I started on that note because I said that the preventive measure is for both the household owner, particularly those in the low-lying environment, and the government. I only started with us, with the man himself and his family, because that's very important. He should know what to do. When there's problem. Well, for the government, it is the government and the community that can now do some of those preventive, that can be engaged in this preventive activity. The problem that we have majorly is that the government, the various arms of government are not actually doing the needful. When it is time for you to erect your structure, they should have mapped out an environment, the areas that you can build.
So you start from there.
We start from there. Sometimes you may not, well, some people will say we can't blame them and all that, because when you look at, for instance, Alekwodo River, a river now in Oshogbo, it was a stream in 1991, 1992, and when Osun State was created, we were there to dredge that stream manually. We didn't even use any equipment. There was no equipment then. So it was dredged manually. It means you could go in there and the rain will be falling and you will still be there, But nobody there does that now, because it has grown due to the development of the upstreams. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So many people are looking at the stream. Even some government officials are looking at these streams as it is right now. There's no projection. And it is what it does tomorrow that really matters to us. So somebody will tell you, come and buy this land. You look at it and say, of course, it doesn't look like it's a floodplain or whatever. And then you just go there and develop that. In a few years, there was a scenario that I can remember vividly at Ibadan. Somebody came and said he wanted to develop a site, and I was asked at Ashi in Ibadan, and I went there and I said, please, I will not subscribe to you building on this place. But he found, I wrote my report, but he found his way and just ensured that it's still erected there. But sadly, I will tell you that he didn't live in that house for 1 year.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful edifice.
What happened?
Oh, it was flooded. Flood took over. Yes, in Ashi. But I thank God that place has now been cleared. And the house and everything, I think they have lost everything to the government. So what I'm saying in essence is that people should know. I was bribed that time. I'm sorry. I was offered some inducement. But I said, no. If you look at this thing tomorrow, and you have, and I give, and I certify it, and you look back, it will cost me. But now you won't cost me, even if you do it. So I'm sure when it happened, they will say, that man said so. It will not cost me. It will even bless me. So, but are we doing the right thing? Are the government officials also doing the right thing? So these are some of the things. Now,
just so we come to Mr. Tony, we'll still come back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Tony, you and your organization, Urban Alert, have done a fantastic job, especially as environment is concerned, majorly here in Osun State and in other states as well. And so I'd like to ask you, the information we are having from the environment, Nimet and all of them, is the fact that Osun was specifically mentioned among other states. And Oshogbo was mentioned, Elisha was mentioned. And then you are wondering, why these towns? Why Osun State? Are we that? Is it the topography? In your own case, and as far as your experience is concerned, with the work you are doing, Why do you think Osun is mentioned in all of this?
All right, thank you. I think this conversation today is going to be wide, and we may need to also dig deep into some facts and figures.
Okay.
Osun is prone to flood because of so many factors. Osun, even from its name, it's river. Yeah. You understand? So forget about it will not. You are living within a riverine territory. Let me use that word, and that makes the state prone to that. And don't forget that the major water body that cuts across 5 states out of the 6 states in the southwest Nigeria is Osun River, and that makes it so interesting when it comes to flood. But maybe we should begin to identify why and what causes flood.
Please,
let's start with that,
so that we will now be able to identify these issues clearly. Urbanization is a very big thing. In the 60s and the 70s, when you look at the development of our cities, you could see that it's just like pockets of development here and there. Yeah. To the 90s, early 2000s, you could see, structures springing up on vacant lands that we used to have. We have infrastructures, we have roads, we have companies, industry in the 90s. So that took over the environment. Yeah. Causing flood and population increase. Looking at Nigeria population in the 60s, comparing it to what we have in the 70s, down to 2006 that we had the last population census, and even population projection after that, you could see that we've moved from just a few millions to over 200 millions. And don't forget that the land mass do not increase while the population is increasing. So the part of water at that time in the 60s and the 70s has now been occupied by structures and by humans. You understand? So that makes it very, very easy for flood to happen. Also look at the issue of climate change. It's a very huge conversation that, as a matter of fact, has contributed to flood in Nigeria, in fact, throughout the world. The cutting down of trees, mining activities here and there has also caused havoc to our environment, thereby exposing the ecosystem to terrible, floods. Another issue that many people used to hammer on, which for me is actually less than 5% of this whole issue, is the issue of poor waste management system. We used to say we dump refuse on waterways so many times, as if that's actually the main reason why we experience.
It's a factor.
It's actually a factor, but not as huge as others. You understand? For me, those are the 3 factors. Now, the question we should ask ourselves is, why do we normally have flood like an annual festival? The anchor just said when we're about to start this conversation that we experienced things like this last year. Why must we, experience the same thing this year? Yeah. Have we learned any lessons? Have we taken those proactive steps? No. You would
both sides, the government and
exactly. You would think when Nigeria experienced, the whole world experienced COVID-19, 2019, 2020, our health care will be the best. But you could see where we are still today. So we have refused to learn. We have refused to take those steps. And it's so unfortunate that we will continue like this if nothing serious is done. However, we should ask ourselves, what are those things that should be done?
What's the
2 things.
Okay.
Preventive and rescue. Rescue intervention. And unfortunately, we capitalize so much on the rescue intervention rather than the preventive things. We need policies, we need laws that will protect our environment. We used to have Environmental Protection Law, EPA, Environmental Protection Act, as a federal law, later domesticated in states. At a point, so many states just had to abandon the law and begin to treat the environment as if nothing is happening. And I tell you, if we refuse to give attention to our environment, we are going to spend much more on health. We are going to spend a lot on infrastructure. So if we can give that attention to the environment, definitely it will reduce the cost that we spend on health, on our infrastructures. And until we begin to have state governments, yes, the federal government is trying its best. Nimet is an agency of the federal government. But after all these predictions, are we having the other governments taking steps, not just steps, reasonable and significant steps? No, we only wait until it happens and we'll visit the site, and after visiting the site, taking cameras and the press to just speak few English, that's all. Look at the issue of Lokoja last year. People were unable to even pass, you know, and go to the federal capital territory.
On that bridge.
You know, look at the issue of Bayelsa. Even the dead heard it, because the dead were actually relocated from their homes.
Sadly.
So you could see that we only wait on these things or until these things happens, and we do a few things and we go back to our shells. That shouldn't be. What are the things we should do? The policies. We have policies, we have the laws. But are these policies, are these laws being enforced? Capital no. Just last year, the former governor of Osun State signed into law the urban and regional planning law in the state. As we speak, that law only appears on paper. And this is actually a very strong law that would prevent flooding, that will ensure that you don't build your structure on waterways, that will ensure that you have the necessary and adequate setback from the waterways, that will ensure that the state government have, you know, floodable plain maps to ensure that people don't just do things anyhow.
Mr. Tony, you know, just to put a context here, and I want us to bring it home. You know, Osogbo and Ilesha have been mentioned. Why do you think these towns have been mentioned significantly, especially as these predictions concerned? Are there factors?
I've just mentioned that in my introduction that the rivers, moving from Igede Ekiti in Ekiti State, where we have the source of Osun River, then into Ijesha land, then into Osogbo, going into Eda. That's the route of Osun River. Now, going to the other side of the state, rivers coming from Ila-Orogun, moving into Ekwe-Inde, and down there, joining Erile River, moving into Ede, now connecting again with Osun River. And many other rivers like Owena River, flowing into Ile-Ife, now joining Osun River again. You could see that we have lots of rivers within the state that could actually push us into flood. Now, until we begin to see ourselves as a state, mere hearing that name, you know Osun is water.
Yeah.
And you know water, an increase in its volume can lead to flood. Just know naturally that we are in a floodplain.
Gentlemen, let both of you please help us out. Your expertise is needed at this moment in time. What are the policies? What are the planning measures that government? Let's start from government. Just as you rightly said, for the want of time, it's a very large thing that needs to be repeated into the ears of all of us as a whole. What are the policies that government should enact at this moment in time? That, look, we keep hearing Nimet, we keep hearing do they really exist? Because seriously, but I know things can get better. But what policy should government put in place to avert such tragedy that happened in this country last year? Because I was a victim of it. I think I was going to I think it was I was going to Abuja. Either of the two, I was going by air. When we passed Kogi, we were looking down and we saw what it meant from the sky. So anybody who's experienced what happened last year will not pray for such. What policy should governments at all levels put down at this moment to say, once this is done, probably will avert things like this? Flooding. Engineer, let me start with you.
Thank you very much. Our problem has not been the policies. It's not the laws. In fact, Nigeria has so much laws. We have a lot of regulating instruments. The issue is implementation. And let me tell you this for free.
Yes.
For if there is any nation that does not that does not take the issue of consequences, seriously, it cannot grow. Yeah, when you do something and nobody is penalized for it, everybody sees it as normal. But if somebody does something and we all see that it's wrong and is penalized, then it will caution others. But in Nigeria's situation, the issue of no consequence is a major problem. The laws are there. It's not so we have no problem with the laws. Go and bring the best law anywhere in the world. It won't work if it's not implemented.
Absolutely.
And if people are not responsible for whatever they are doing, if nobody is holding you responsible, you become, there's not going to be any improvement. The laws will not implement themselves. They are going to be implemented by people. So I think the important thing is not talking about the you have them out there.
But the implementation part of it.
The implementation part of it. And the responsibility part of it. Who is responsible for what? If it doesn't do it, what do we do? Of course, we have seen situations, we have seen officers being negligent in this country and costing lives of many people, and you hear nothing about it. You just hear, if anybody accuses, if there's any noise from anywhere, it's going to be from the people, just the people, and you can rant and do whatever you. So for as long as there are no consequences, go and bring the best laws, go and make the best policies. Like he said, the one that they said enacted last year is still there in the cooler. Nobody is caring about it. For us, as long as it remains like that, then there's a problem. The government is not as proactive and responsible as they should be in many of these issues. Nigeria, as a matter of fact, is not only on the issue of flooding. Nigeria should not find itself in the problem that it's finding itself right now if there have been consequences for evil doing, for wrongdoing.
Please, sir, let me come to Mr. JUWON at this moment in time. What should be the stakeholders' participation in averting tragedies such as flooding?
Now, we have two stakeholders. We have the government and we have the people. Now, the government for me is even divided into two. We have the elected officials and we have the public or civil servants. Now, the old boss still is at the table of the elected officials. Do they have the political will to protect the lives of the people? That's the first question.
The political will.
To protect the lives of the people. If it's not coming in wind and storm, political or elected officials don't actually see anything, reasonable in, addressing issues like that. Just 3 weeks ago or so, we had something of this nature here in Osun State, Ikire.
Yes.
And as at that time, people were talking about, it's about poor waste management, it is about this. No. Our organization had to go there to assess the situation, making use of so many tools, making use of technology to see what caused this. And it shows that the dam, few kilometers to that point, was actually closed, where we have lots of water coming from upstream.
Okay.
So that shows there is possibility of, lack of information or collaboration between the Osun State and the Oyo State government in terms of that dam. Because I think the dam is being managed by the Oyo State government. Now, because the dam is closed, water had to find its own path and begin to enter homes, blocking traffic and the rest. So we need to know and we need to ensure that our political office holders have that political will to protect the lives of the people. They shouldn't wait until we have loss of lives, loss of properties. That is one. Now, we need to ensure that these political office holders also empowers the civil servants, the agencies, the ministries that are expected to take this thing from just mere political statements to actions. Imagine if we have lots of environmental protection officers that Yoruba call wole wole. They'll be able to quickly alert their superiors to say there's possible flood at these very locations. Even within our local communities, they'll be able to sensitize the local people to say, stop dumping refuse on the waterways. But these people are virtually not there, practically not there.
Because I know that in the early 80s, even up to the 90s, they were even more feared than the policemen.
Exactly.
When you hear that, wole wole is coming.
It's coming.
Yes.
So they are no more there. So, and that's huge. If we don't have those kind of people within our system, we will continue to face problems like this.
Wow.
All right. Quickly, let me still stay with Tony. The place of information in all of this, orientation. Because, yes, Nimet has released prediction. I'm sure. Let's take Osun State, for example. In the rural areas, are they aware? Who is taking this information to them? Are these informations broken down into languages that people understand? Because some of us here, we're educated, we read the papers, we have many more that don't read these things, except the newspaper review that they hear in the morning. And for some, they're already in their farms, they are not really listening. So the place of orientation, many have talked about the National Orientation Agency, put on one side, being a very sorry case across the state. Now, how important is people knowing what lies ahead so that they prepare for it, just like the engineer said the other time, what to do if you're in a fix, if these things happen, the place of information and breaking these things down to the language that people understand so that they know that either it's in Oshogbo or Ilesha or in Akure or in Ado or in Barkinladi, somewhere, they know that this is what we have to do to prevent and then, to find our way if things happen badly.
Yeah, information is key.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, lack of true news is the reason for fake news. If the true news is not there, people will push fake news. But the first thing we should ask ourselves is, do we have the right information to even push out there for people to know?
The predictions are there?
Not just the prediction. After Nimet, released the prediction, we should have lots of research done within the state to say, these are the areas we know this thing will definitely happen.
We should do that, Mr. Tony.
Now, even if the state government says there's no money, which for me may not be true, because every month a particular amount of money is received by every state government in Nigeria as ecological fund.
Yeah.
Along with their FAC. So the question is, where is the money? There should be research. There should be data gathering. Let's even say the state governments cannot, fund those projects. We have universities, research institutions that can actually be harnessed to do all these things in collaboration with the state governments. So that we know the exact location that we will be rescuing. That is one. Then you can now know how to push this information to the people. You can now know the mode you want to use. If we know that communities like Ileri, very close to Ilesha, is going to be affected, we know that we can't go on cable and be addressing Ileri people.
Exactly what I'm referring to.
We need to use that media tool that they will really understand. Some, it may not be radio. It may just be, making use of the town criers to pass this information? Can we quickly organize a town hall meeting to say these are the issues? I give it to the civil society organizations working around the environment, doing a lot in ensuring that people are safe when it comes to the environment. So we need to devise all these means to ensure that people here, not just here, and the government also force people to do the right thing. No one wants to do anything. Even the government itself don't want to do anything. We just want to be there and enjoy our lives. But things don't work that way. There are laws. How do we enforce those laws? How do we ensure that we are all proactive? The people, the government cannot do it alone.
Absolutely.
The people cannot also do it alone. We need a well-coordinated approach to ensure that when the government is pushing the policies, enforcing the laws, people are also doing the right thing. By now, I want to believe that the government should begin to think about how do we solve the issue of solid waste management. The fact is, people don't have money to pay for solid waste. There are lots of programs that have been, executed in so many states in Nigeria, saying that clean this, clean that, that you expect residents to pay. People cannot afford it, not even in this economy. Why can we not just be innovative to say, can we have lots of incinerator cans in strategic places rather than people dumping waste on the waterways or at the center of the road?
Some will argue and say people can pay if actually it's well planned. If possibly there is a payment plan, the cost of preventing something at times is far more cheaper than what will be spent if actually something bad happens. Some will say, okay, why don't government pay this part and the people play the other part? When there is a payment plan, you just have to pay a token, maybe weekly or something, that, when you talk about the government, they themselves will tell you they need funds to do all these things. Is it really true that the people can't pay for some of these services?
See, addressing the issue,
in as much you are not living in Lekki or in Victoria.
When we want to talk about people can afford, I used to, refer to data. When they say 133 million Nigerians are living below poverty line, they are terribly poor. 133. You could see that shows they are living under $1 per day. Now, how will someone living under $1 per day be able to pay for solid waste management? He cannot even feed himself. Not even talk of feeding his family. He doesn't even have even the waste. He would prefer to eat the waste. Because that's just the practical thing. People cannot really afford this thing. How can we go back to the strategies used in the 90s? Strategic locations, let's have the incinerators. People will be able to take their waste from their homes, put there, and maybe once or twice a week, we have the ministries or agencies in charge to, empty this can and return them.
I think the engineer wants to.
Yeah. Well, I agree that people are not able to pay. I was in government for over 30 years. And my experience actually revealed that there are so many things that we think people should do. Some are willing to do it, but they can't afford to do it. Now, you can look at Osun. You can see, with the mop-up, because I think currency mop-up is what is going on right now with the fuel increase and all this and all that. You are using 2,000 naira before to fuel your car, and now you have to use 5,000, like 10,000 or so. So they are mopping. It's a sort of mop-up. And you first of all think, many of us will say, let me just leave my car and just go on. Even at that, is it economical? Before, we were shouting, we can't do this. Now it's much worse. So people can't pay. Honestly, that is the truth, the basic truth. Now, there are so many other issues that can lead to these problems with this. I want to, first of all, I want us to look at the urban area first before actually going to the rural area. Most of this flooding issues are found in the urban settings. A few of them, just a few of them, in the rural settings. And of course, when you talk of the flood in the rural settings, it's going to be some rural areas that are already building up. Because like he said, development is part of the causes of flooding. When there is development upstream, more water runs into the channel. So if it is meant to carry a specific number of volume per second, and it now goes beyond that, of course you find water in areas that is not meant to be. So, but in villages, in these rural settings, for instance, I go to a particular place every Sunday, one very rural area, and well, they won't tell you there's any flood or anything. The only problem that you can have is, okay, there's too much rain and then the house built with mud, one side has collapsed and things like that. But flood is not likely to be one of those things that they have. The rivers are moving on their own. They are going on they are not building too close to the river. Even if somebody is trying it, they will call him. So I think we should concentrate more. This information you are talking about.
Yes.
I think you are referring to you want us to see how information is going to be taken to the villages on flood matters.
To the people entirely.
To the people, no.
Yeah.
When you are talking
village.
Yes, I think it's more. We should concentrate more,
especially as using Osun State for example has been mentioned, meaning there's danger.
Yes,
when people should be aware.
No, look at these two locations that were mentioned, Osogbo, Ilesha. Ilesha is the largest town in Osun State, and it keeps developing. Look, when you talk of flood, you have some flood caused by the pavement, by too much of pavement. When when water can no longer percolate, where you had trees, you had forest, and there was no fear of flooding. You remove all the forests, remove all the shrubs and things, and then there's flood. I mean, and then water starts. It will run into the streams, in the channels, and then the channels will now be unable to carry the the capacity of that channel will be too small for it. So I think it's better we concentrate more in this. And that's why Osun, Ilesha is mentioned. Osogbo is mentioned. My town is not mentioned because it's a small community. They know how to manage themselves. But as soon as it becomes as big as Osogbo, you will see somebody managing the floodplain, and that is the problem.
Okay, gentlemen, let's look at what measures do we need to put in place, because no matter what, it's been stated, it's been forecast, the forecast has been said that this thing will
happen. Yeah.
I've heard over time that plant a tree and what have you. What are the other things that every one of us should take into cognizance at this moment in time? Even if it comes, it will bring less of destructions of so many things. What are these kind of measures that you can help us with, engineer and Mr. Tony? Let me start with Mr. Tony.
I'm sorry if I may chip in this, especially that prediction. I think there was one that came with dates that within this period and this period, people should really, I think from the 16th to possibly the end of the month. So what are those things, just like you said, we can do immediately?
At least.
Well, I think we have these two stakeholders, the people and the government. The people, as soon as possible, in fact, as immediate as it could be, should clear the waterways close to them, no matter how small. Everybody within the community, we need to do that immediately. Because if you are saying, I live upstream, it will definitely come to you. If your neighbors cannot sleep in their houses, you will house them and you will likely feed them. So it's better we just join hands together to quickly, through the waterways, no matter how small it is, within our local communities. That is one.
Okay.
And we need, as people, to be very, very vigilant. Let's be vigilant to say, yes, if this happens, what is the next step? What are we doing? Because I tell you, predictions are there, and there are data that shows that this thing could happen.
You should expect this.
In fact, Nimet released a map to show the level of havoc it could cause. So we need to be very proactive as people to say, this is what we need to do to prevent and as a rescue intervention.
Yeah, if our producer can just pull up that map, I think I saw it just now on the TV, so that we look at it, especially those places that are marked red.
Exactly.
And you see it across, yes,
you could see, we have it here. You could see from the map that we have a arm coming from River Niger, another arm coming from River Benue. Now, from this north west side, you could see we have lots of red compared to that
of the northeast.
Now, coming down, you could see Kogi. Kogi is even green. Now, look at the states within the southwest and south. Almost red, almost. We have just three. We have just 3 states from the southwest that is not placed on red.
When you check when you check the heading,
it's also green.
When you check the heading, it says flash flood risk potential zone alert. No dam effect issued on 14/08. Just 2 days ago.
No dam effect. That shows this doesn't even cover the effect on dams.
Possible dam.
So if we have dam issues,
it might be worse. Is that what?
Exactly.
Is this implication?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So, and imagine the number of dams we have per state. And don't forget that one of the things that caused the issue of the flooding last year was the issue of, dam. So, as individuals, as local communities, we need to ensure that we do our own thing, our own parts. Now, coming back to the government, the government must coordinate everything. If possible, if we can quickly do some few dredges. I've heard that the state governments, the Ondo state government, the Osun state government are dredging rivers. I don't know how true is that. I've never been there. But can we quickly do more within these few days? That is one. 2, can we ensure that we have a rescue team, a 24/7 rescue team that can quickly go out to rescue people? Because we can say this from now till tomorrow. People that are finding it difficult to eat, do you think they will still go to another person to put their burden? If you ask them to relocate, are there provisions for them now?
That's it. Well, some have talked about how can these persons be evacuated?
Exactly.
Now some will say if they are evacuated, where do they go? Who takes care of them?
We have lots of IDPs in Nigeria already. In fact, some friends have said many Nigerians, even living in their house, are within IDP environment.
Engineer.
Yeah, I think he has really spoken rightly. But I still believe very strongly that we have a lot of responsibility, even as individuals.
Okay.
See, when the Yorubas have a proverb,
you might want to translate that, but I know Yoruba speaking nothing.
Yes, that if our neighbor is eating any insect that is deadly, and we don't warn him, the effect is going to also affect us.
Okay.
And it may cause us to lose our sleep in the night. See, there are so many people, so many of our neighbors who are doing the wrong thing, and unfortunately, we just shift our focus away because it's not us. Not knowing that whatever the problem that he encounters is going to affect us. Unfortunately, a lot of them, like we have all observed, noted. There's no fund now to do the right thing sometimes.
Fund?
From an individual, no money.
Okay, yeah.
Individually. For instance, somebody who is in a floodplain location, and you advise him, please, this thing can cause. Some people will tell you that they are ready to just die there because they can't afford any other thing. So that's where sometimes the government comes in. The government will have to, you see, everybody likes to remain in his comfort zone for as long as it's not over pushed. But if the government will come in and say no, even if you want to commit suicide, we will not allow you. The government will come in and help out, evacuate them, force them to get out of that place. But I think in the long run, there's a need for the government to have this, to set the planning, building planning right. Where and where should the people build? Unfortunately, it is the people who can't afford to build, to build near the streams that are actually building. Because the land are cheap? The land is cheap there. So when a man who is rich, look at this man before his structure was collapsed. This Baba, what do you call him? Who had the hotel? Rascal. He knew what to do at that time. The volume of water that was, the only problem he had was because he considered the volume of the river at that particular moment. So he didn't know that,
futuristic
yes, that it will eventually develop and become unmanageable to the extent. Otherwise, it could still be there if he had done the right thing. Because he had the money. The money he used in putting the foundation in place would be sufficient for 20 or 30 poor men to build their houses near that place. So I think it is important. Many of us, when we know what to do, we can please encourage those who don't, or even report them to the government. Somebody reported a case while I was in government. Somebody came to report a situation to me at Otaifun, and they said this man is building in a place too close to the river. So I was there. And I now put a number of questions to the man. So at the end of the day, he couldn't answer most of the questions. We were able to get him. He was able to dispose of the land. He sold it to somebody else. Transfer the headache to somebody else. And then he added a little money and then bought it somewhere. And I helped him to design it, and he's living there right now. But a lot of people will not even report.
Because you don't want to be the bad person.
You don't want to be the bad person. No, the person even begged me. Please don't tell him that I'm the one that came to report.
All right. As we coast home gradually, let me come back to Tony. And I want to ask you this specifically because I know you've done a very amazing job on mining activities. And that's why I want to ask, could it be a factor why Ilesha or Igesha land is mentioned? Because there are a lot of mining activities going on there, most of it, or some of it rather, illegal. And people of that place have been talking about possibly a disaster waiting to happen. When you go to Atakuma, east and west, some part of Ilesha, east and west as well. And I've seen for myself some of these things when you are passing. And our basic law of environment will tell you this is not a good thing. You see the land being waterlogged. The moment those guys are through with the mining, the whole place is just an open place. Could it be a factor, Tony?
Yes, it is. I mentioned climate change the other time, and mining, deforestation, wood logging is part of it. Not even mining alone. We talk about charcoal production. Yes, they use tree, and because of the economic situation of the country, you now see people that normally use gas now moving towards charcoal, to charcoal and wood. It's still coming back to the environment. But the issue of mining, it's a sad thing. It's so painful and unfortunate that rather than local people, residents of the state, citizens to enjoy the mineral resources, for years, for centuries, they are going to suffer the impact of mining in the state. And as we speak, little or nothing has been done to address that issue. And definitely, it's going to contribute to the issue of flood. Traveling from Ekiti State, in fact, just flying a drone from Ekiti State into Osun State, you could see how lovely we have the banks of the major river, the Osun River and other rivers, how clean, how lovely they are. You could see farmers, doing their thing. But moving into Osun State, a few kilometers into Osun State, you see lots of devastation. You could see that people actually opened the ground without closing it back after doing all these things, and you could see that the natural route of the water has been distorted. So definitely, there's going to be lots of flood entering into many communities in the Ijesha land through that route. And
because water must find its way.
Yes, despite the fact that there are laws, and in fact, the Minerals and Mining Act 2007 specifically said you should not mine on the waterways.
Well, here we are.
Specifically said that. So when we say people,
but that's been done.
Yes, it's been done. But when we say people are mining illegally, I just laugh. It's as if illegitimacy is now the legitimate thing in Nigeria. We all say it's illegal. Don't we have police? Don't we have the DSS?
No consequences.
Nothing. Anything. Anybody can just do.
Mentioning some of these security agencies, I reckon with the fact that they are the ones even supervising and guarding those on that same land.
You're saying the fact. And
by the way, some of them are junior officers that are just listening to orders from above.
In 2021, it's on record. In 2021, and in fact, we have correspondents from this media house went with the Osun State House of Assembly to visit some mining sites. And it's so funny that even the police officers manning the mining sites are of higher rank than people protecting the House of Assembly members.
Gentlemen, because of the want of time, we've been able to lay quite a whole lot, and we just hope, and that's something I've been saying this, I've said it severally, that I want to thank government at all levels, stakeholders at all levels, that this program is well watched, and you take to what our analysts, guests come up in here to help us out with, and I think we must have taken a cue from what they have said. But gentlemen, before we go, what's the way forward? No matter what, this is going to come. You and I need to have a plan B. And as much as you and I here, present in the studio, our viewers, people out there, those who will go to our YouTube channel to watch this program again, or all the social media handle, what is the next step of action? What advice do you have for citizens at this moment and government? What should government do? What should citizens do? So that lives, property, farmlands will not be ravaged. Engineer, help us out.
Thank you very much. There are short-term plans.
Short-term plans, yes.
There are medium-term plans, and then there are long-term plans. Well, thank God, I think I am very much aware that the present government is dredging some of the streams across the entire state. And, we are thankful for that.
Yes.
But I think the very important thing that they need to do is to ensure that they engage the professionals who know what to do, because sometimes the dredging, it may not be enough. Even providing concrete embankment may not be enough. If it is not done properly to certain specifications, we will only be wasting money. Because sometimes you take care, like I said, you take care of the problem today, in 10 years, it becomes obsolete. We have to commit money into that, even in 5 years sometimes. So I think the government, the developmental plan, they should look at they should plan and give us give us a program where you will say, this is the place where you have to build. You can't build here. And then force it. But funny enough, it is the government or their agents that are also guilty of contravening these laws.
All right.
Those who have the money. They will just contravene it, and there's nothing anybody will do. I have gone to so many places in the past where you say, no, you can't do this, you can't block this, and they just tell me to get out.
Oh my God.
And of course, I will get out. I have no choice.
All right, Tony, your parting shot on the matter.
Well, for me, let me quickly give it to the Osun State government. I think a few weeks ago, the governor set up a climate change advisory committee. But I think this is something that is commendable. But for me, advice is not enough. action.
Have you seen them working?
Well, advice. They said they should advise the governor.
Yeah, right? Just an advisory.
It's the responsibility of the governor to either take the advice or throw the advice away. So I think we need action from the state government. Now, we've been told if anything happens tomorrow, we need to hold the government accountable for actions and inactions.
All right. You know, and that reminds me, as they say, government is a continuum. I think during the administration of Raul Faragbeshala, there were major dredgings that were done in major parts of the state, and that spoke to or speaks to while there were minimal flood disaster at that time. Subsequent government, you know, are expected to build on that, definitely have their own legacy, but then the lives and properties of the Nigerian people, the people of Osun State, is very important. And definitely, I know they are listening and they are watching right now. The government should do the needful. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time this morning, especially on this issue of public importance, the predictions that we have on our hands. You know, gone are the days when you say, God forbid, easily, and just wish it away. But then we now know without doubt actions must be taken, because actions and inactions have consequences. Mr. Tony JUWON of the Obadala, thank you very much.
Thanks,
and of course, engineer as well. And we are very happy to have you here, especially speaking as somebody who has been in the government before, you know. And I'd like you to make a clarification. That was the time you were talking and you said you are bribed or you are offered bribe. So that somebody doesn't just pick that up.
Okay, I was offered bribe.
Okay.
All right. If you can
somebody can easily pick that part and say, this man said it.
You know, I'm an engineer.
A big thank you to Engineer DIPO ALANI,
yes,
former Director of Flood Control and Engineering Services of Ministry of Environment, Osun State, and just as Femi said, a team lead for Urban Alert, Tony JUWON. Thank you, most sincerely, gentlemen, for coming on the show this morning. And to you all out there, this is a period, and subsequently, hey, we need to do the needful. It goes beyond dumping refuse in drainage system, but it's part of it. What has to be done
that as well. Yeah.
Please, let's do it. Thank you for being a part of the midweek edition of Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. Once again, I'd like to thank the entire transmission team, our director, the producers, my producer, and also the entire camera team. Thank you for being there. We'll be back again tomorrow for another special and bumper edition of the program, Morning Spring. Tunde IDOWU is my name, at Irresistible TD on Twitter.
All right, and let's inform our distinguished viewers across the world, in Nigeria and Osun State as well, that we will be on this matter, and we will like to take the government angle as well. Their handlers and their people are listening right now. We've taken the angle of the people, and of course the response of the government. We'll be right here to do that. God bless Nigeria. Have a very lovely day. Femi Ojo is my name. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Which, if not because I'm desperate for it, not because I did travel this night. What I want use dollar do? What I want use dollar do? No, while I don't come, I beg. I beg, just give me the money like that.
That's $10,000.
$10,000.